This is CJ Thomas, Farmington Town Council Chair, calling our meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the Town Council of Farmington's first ever virtual meeting. We're holding this meeting in a manner that will help mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and adhere to our social distancing policies. Thank you all for recognizing these unusual circumstances and in your help adhering to these guidelines. I'll do my best to keep the meeting running efficiently and informatively for all who are watching. I ask people recognized by the chair to state their name prior to speaking each and every time you speak. We will now please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item C, presentations and recognitions. Seeing none, we will move on to item D, public hearing, a public hearing on the Town Council's proposed budget for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021, and I will turn it over to Paula Ray.
Paula Ray, Town Clerk. Legal notice, Town of Farmington public hearing. A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 7th, 2020 at 7:05 p.m. online via Zoom webinar on the Town Council's proposed budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021. View the Town Council's proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 on the town website. Zoom is an online meeting platform. Participants should click the hyperlink above to download the software to access the meeting and connect to audio using either your computer speakers or dialing into the number provided above. Zoom is also available for download on your cell phone in the App Store. A listen-only meeting option is also available. To access, dial 860-675-2387. Access code 0336382. Comments can be sent to the Town Council until 12 o'clock noon on April 7th, 2020, and are accepted via email to the public comment at farmington-ct.org or by calling 860-673-8282 and leaving a voicemail. Please provide your name and address when emailing or calling in for public comment. Call-in comments are limited to 5 minutes. Please call the Town Manager's office at 860-675-2350 with any questions. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 26th day of March 2020, Kathleen A. Blonsky, Town Manager.
Thank you, Paul. This is CJ Thomas, Town Council Chair. In the midst of this global pandemic, the business of the town of Farmington must move forward, and that includes the town budget. Our hard work to slow the spread of this virus will eventually reward us with a return to normalcy. How well we follow the prescribed guidelines will help determine how soon that time will be. Governor Lamont has issued several significant executive orders that affect the town of Farmington budget process. Later in tonight's agenda, we will be discussing those modifications. One change that I must point out now is that the governor has declared that municipalities shall not hold an annual town meeting or a budget referendum. By executive order, the Town Council will set the budget this year. The Town Council recommended budget was formulated to be a fiscally conservative one. The spending target was modest, and the school system and the town offered budgets that were lean and sought to maintain service levels. Expansion of services was not a goal for this budget. In fact, the recommended tax increase is the most moderate recommended in the last several years. Tonight, we are not taking action on the budget. After tonight's Town Council public hearing, the Town Council will be acting on a resolution which sets a new budget schedule for the governor's executive order. Based on that schedule, it is projected that the Town Council will adopt the budget at the May 12, 2020 regular Town Council meeting and set the mill rate at that time. Given the current crisis we are facing and the economic ramifications we are experiencing, the Town Council is well aware that this budget will likely need to be modified and may include considerable reductions. but we do not have enough information at this time about the true economic impact of this public health crisis. The coming weeks will offer more data and information, which will enable the town council to make better informed decisions. This April 28th, 2020 town council meeting remains on the calendar, which will give the town council an opportunity to revisit the budget before May 12th, 2020 meeting if necessary. This gives the town almost a month to evaluate where we and the world stand on May 12th. Let us continue work hard as a community to flatten the curve and stop this virus. Together we'll get through this. I will now call on Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager, to review the budget in details.
Thank you, CJ. Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager. Members of the public, I present for your review the Town Council's proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. The proposed budget has already gone through several iterations. During budget deliberations last month, the Town Council made changes to the Town Manager's recommended budget. For the operating budget, the Town Council reduced the Board of Education budget by $210,000 and added a total of $200,000 back to the town budget. These items that were added back to the budget are aimed to advance the Town Council's goals and objectives and the Town of Farmington strategic plan. These items include $150,000 to fulfill the pension obligation, $35,000 to fund a full-time engineering position for part of the year, $5,000 for an engineering intern, and $10,000 to fund the part-time land acquisition consultant position. Also, during budget deliberations, the capital budget general fund cash appropriation was reduced by $1,164,000. Expenditures. The town's strategic plan and the town's capital improvement policy were the guidelines at the forefront when formulating this budget. The general fund budget includes the proposed spending for the town, for the school system, for debt service, and for capital improvements. The proposed budget for Westwood's Golf Course, the Recreation Fund, and solid waste collection and disposal are also included for your review. Total appropriation. The total proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-21 is $114,179,250, an increase of $2,636,173, or 2.36 above the current budget. Total expenditure summary. The proposed town budget is $31,478,237. An increase of $1,105,133, or 3.64% above the current expenditure. This budget maintains the high service levels our residents expect. Town expenditure by operation. Highlights of town operation by category include the following. General administration, the dollar change is $54,342, or a 0.8% increase. Public safety, the dollar increase is $582,850, or a 5.79% increase. Public Works is a decrease of $1,143,611, a decrease of 2.97%. Community and Recreation, an increase of $649, 0.07%. Other increase of $610,903, or 7.8%. The total is a 3.64% increase. I've also separated the budget by object into salaries, benefits, supplies, equipment, contractual, and utilities. The increases for each object are as follows. Salaries increases 3.34%. Benefits, the increase is 9.57%. The supplies has no increase. The equipment is a decrease of 4.45%. Contractual is a decrease of 0.98%. Utilities is 1.55%, for a total of 3.64%. Some areas to note: the salary reserve account in the personnel budget covers salary adjustments for non-union staff and others. All bargaining unit salary adjustments and step increases are budgeted in the respective department salary accounts for the next year. The police department shows a 6.84% increase. The majority of the police department increase is in the salary accounts. Last year, the IBPO contract was not settled. Therefore, the salary accounts were kept at the previous year's level, and funds were included in the salary reserve account. The IBPO contract is now in place, so the police budget must reflect the salary increases for 2 years. The Highway and Grounds Operation account shows funding for 4 seasonal summer employees who will be used to supplement regular staff. Workers' compensation shows a reduction due to good claims experience. Health insurance is increasing due to increases in stop-loss insurance premiums. The pension contribution has been increased 16.96% as a result of changes to the actuarial assumptions related to the mortality tables and other factors. The account also funds required contributions to the defined contribution pension plan. In summary, the Town Council's proposed budget is $31,478,237, which is an increase of $1,105,133, or 3.64% above the current expenditure. Debt service. The debt group of accounts includes appropriations to make principal and interest payments on the town's long-term debt. The total proposed amount for the next fiscal year is $9,302,449. This is an increase of $4,087 or 0.04% from the previous year. This very small increase in debt service is a result of the drop-off of debt which was refinanced in 2015. Special services. The refuse collection budget includes the cost of collecting and disposing of solid and bulky waste generated by town residents in the town's landfill operation. This budget proposes no rate increase. The annual fee will remain at $235 per household. Capital projects. The proposed general fund cash appropriation to support the capital improvements is $3,171,983. General fund capital projects. Shown here is a list of the proposed capital budget projects funded by the general fund. Proposed bonding and other funding. The first year of the capital plan proposes bonding for the Farmington High School building project. The Town Council set a net municipal project budget maximum of $110 million. This capital plan also includes $27,500,000 in anticipated state reimbursement for the Farmington High School building project. $50,000 is included in the Board of Ed defined contribution. These funds are the result in the change of retirement benefits for non-certified collective bargaining agreements. Board of Education expenditures. The Board of Education account includes a proposed appropriation of $70,176,581, an increase of 3.64 above the current year's budget. Details of the Board of Education budget are included in the budget document provided by the Board of Education. I will now call on Kathy Greeter, who will discuss the Board of Education budget.
Thank you, Kathy. This is Kathy Greeter, Superintendent of. I will begin just hoping everyone is safe and well, and I would like to thank everyone for their patience and understanding over the last few weeks. We have shifted to a new way of engaging in school through remote learning, and our program is FPS Connected Learning. I just want to thank everyone. So I will now begin the budget presentation. The 2020-2021 school district budget was developed to address the Board of Education's strategic improvement design within the budget guidelines, policies of the board, and state and federal requirements. We use zero-based budgeting through the budget development process. It is important to note that this budget has been reduced significantly to reach the current budget increase. Next slide. This visual represents our strategic improvement design. By aligning our budget development to our improvement design, we ensure budget request advanced strategic improvement K-12. Next slide. The Board of Education's recommended budget reflects a total budget amount of $70,176,581 with an increase of $2,467,976 or a 3.64% increase over the 2019-2020 school district budget. Next slide. This slide provides another view of the 3.64% recommended budget for the 2020-2021 school year. 1.79% of the 3.64% increase accounts for all contractual salaries. The increase is driven by contractual salary obligations and increased special services personnel due to elevated student need. 1.68% of the 3.64% increase is in the area of self-insurance. We are experiencing higher claim trends and an increase in catastrophic claims, which requires a larger increase in self-insurance. 0.50% of the 3.64% increase is due to increased student need and special education, contracted professional services. Examples include occupational therapy, physical therapy, outside evaluations, and support for our in-district specialized programming. A negative 0.33% reflects all other areas of the budget, including but not limited to our transportation contract, required supplies, equipment, and fees, for a total increase of 3.64% over the 2019-2020 budget. Since the entire 3.64% increase reflects contractual obligations and mandated special services costs and an actual decrease in all other costs, we have made significant reductions within the budget to arrive at the 3.64% increase. Next slide. Oh, you're on it. As I've stated, the 2020-2021 recommended budget reflects significant budget reductions throughout the budget approval process due to increased cost in health insurance, special services, and ongoing shifts in grant funding. However, the school district remains committed to striving to maintain academic excellence and equity through innovative programming K-12, supporting students' academic and social emotional development, providing flexible pathways for challenge and support, addressing unanticipated and ongoing shifts in grant funding, increasing cybersecurity across the entire school district, containing costs through zero-based budgeting, budget reductions and efficiencies, and maintaining class size level in accordance with Board of Ed policy. Next slide. We have much to be proud of in Farmington. We continue to be highlighted at regional, state, and national levels for academic excellence and student outcomes across many success indicators. Next slide. Here are some additional notable accomplishments. From robotics to AP achievements to sports and extracurricular activities, Farmington continues to be a leader in Connecticut and nationally for excellence in student outcomes, as well as a well-rounded education for all students. Next slide. Here are examples of our favorable state rankings when it comes to expenditures. There is a relationship between the accomplishment slides and this ranking slide. Excellence in education and programming, as well as fiscal responsibility and management. The rankings are based on 166 towns, with one spending the most and 166 spending the least. 141 in purchase services, 157 in general administration, 110 in instruction, 121 in employee benefits, and 116 in total transportation. Next slide. This slide provides examples of the reductions totaling over $1.5 million that have occurred during the budget development process to arrive at the recommended budget level for the 2020-2021 school year. As you can see on this slide, we've reduced all elements of this budget except health insurance, which is trending higher than in previous years. Next slide. The first driver of the budget is salaries, and as you can see, this accounts for 66.27% of the total budget and reflects collaborative negotiations between various associations and the Board of Education. Each of the associations' negotiated salary increases are listed on this slide. The salary series reflects a 2.68% increase over this year's budget. Next slide. The second major budget driver is employee benefits. This account provides for 100% of expected paid claims and the administration of employee health insurance. For several months, we've experienced higher claim costs as well as increased catastrophic claims. Given this emerging trend in higher claim costs, there was a larger increase in this account. The employee benefits series accounts for 16.69% of our total budget. There is a 10.77% increase in this account. According to Cigna, health insurance trends are trending at 12 to 15%. Even with this increase, we are trending at the average health insurance cost trends, which are higher than we have experienced over the past several years. Next slide. The services series includes varied items. This series accounts for 13.74% of the total budget. It reflects a 3.17% increase. It also reflects a commitment to providing excellent programming for all students, especially in the area of special services. Two examples of increases in services series are in the transportation contract for students requiring bus transportation, as well as special services contracted services based on increased student need. This was a series that experienced significant reductions, especially in the area of major facility improvements. Next slide. The supplies account provides for facilities used in swimming and ice hockey competitions and for the purchase of a wide range of items such as instructional, health, custodial, computer, and testing supplies. The supply series is flat, reflecting a slight decrease of $25 or 0% increase. The 400 series accounts for 2.65% of the total budget. The increase is offset by significant reductions in the series. Next slide. The next slide reflects the budget level for the equipment series, which accounts for 0.30% of the total budget. This series reflects equipment requests. There is a 47.48% decrease in this account. We made significant reductions in this series, which will directly impact students in the area of technology. The technology budget reductions alone will impact approximately 1,300 students. Next slide. The dues and fees series is the last series. It reflects 0.35% of the total budget with a 3.29% increase in the series. This includes memberships to organizations and liability and property insurance. Next slide. This slide is an overview of the major budget drivers that reflect a 3.64% increase over the 2019-2020 school district budget, all of which I reviewed within this presentation. Next slide. This slide provides a summary of the Board of Education's capital improvement plan. Our capital improvement plan reflects projects within our K-8 facility reports, as well as technology infrastructure improvements. The original amount requested was reduced by over $900,000 to arrive at a total capital improvement budget of $1,531,983 for the Board of Education. Next slide. The 2020-2021 Board of Education's recommended budget reflects significant budget reductions to mitigate against increased costs in health insurance, special services, and ongoing shifts in grant funding. We have taken a long-term, strategic, and highly effective approach to cost containment, avoidance, and savings so that resources are aligned directly to our improvement design at the student level. We work diligently with our school and program leaders to minimize the significant cost increases we are experiencing through reductions, cost containment, and cost avoidance. It's important to note that we rank 103 in our per pupil spending out of 166 districts, with one spending the most and 166 spending the least. Per pupil, we spend $1,620 less than the state average per student. This equates to millions of dollars less in our budget. In addition, we rank 14 out of 19 school districts in DIRG B per pupil spending. DIRG B districts are the districts that are similar to us in the ability to pay and the population demographics. They represent the districts we compare ourselves to when it comes to achievement outcomes. We consistently rank at the top as a top district in Connecticut overall and within our DIRG in academic outcomes, yet our spending reflects fiscal responsibility across accounts. As noted in the presentation, we also reduced this budget by over $1.5 million in the operating budget. Our student, faculty, school, and district accomplishments, continuous improvement efforts, rigorous curriculum, and high-quality programming have contributed to a nationally recognized education here in Farmington at a lower cost. Although this is a budget that has experienced profound reductions, we are committed to continue to provide excellence in educational programming, teaching and learning, and student outcomes. Now I will turn the presentation over to Town Manager Kathy Blonsky. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager. The grand list. The grand list is broken down into three categories: real estate, personal property, and motor vehicles. The real estate account shows a 0.67% increase. The personal property account shows a 2% increase, and the motor vehicles account shows a 2% increase. In summary, the grand list increased by 0.84%, or $30,739,282, for a total grand list of $3,700,112,607. Revenues, grants, charges, and others. I've broken down revenues into 9 categories: other property taxes, license and permits, fines and penalties, interest, grants, service charges, others, Westwood's Golf Course, and fund equity. In summary, projected non-tax revenues are $9,635,006, or a 3.85% decrease over the current year. The proposed tax and mill rate. The proposed general fund budget will require a property tax rate of 28.57 mils, an increase of 0.60 mils or 2.16%. This illustrates that the average residential assessment will see an increase of $137.17 in their taxes. In other words, $100,000 of assessed value equals $2,857 in taxes. The upcoming budget schedule. Based on the governor's executive order, the town council has modified the upcoming budget schedule. The annual town meeting and referendum vote have been canceled per the governor's executive order. It is anticipated that the town council will adopt a budget for fiscal year 2021 and set the tax rate at the regular meeting on May 12th, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. This is CJ Thomas, Town Council Chair. I'll now turn it over to Paula Ray for any questions that have been previously submitted.
We have one public comment that was received before the meeting, and that is from Kate Ryan at 39 Knollwood Road. It's in two parts. The beginning, her question was, given the governor's executive order, the town council is only accepting public comment via email. Can you please publish specific information to residents on the contingency plans that are being explored and defined for voting at the upcoming town meeting and town referendum? That question was responded to by Assistant Town Manager Catherine Krajewski, after which Kate Ryan again responded. Thanks for your reply. I want to clarify my request that the town council publish the anticipated changes to the budget process, including possible cancellation of the town meeting and budget referendum, and what will be the process in the absence of a public vote. Specifically, I don't believe it is widely known and understood that the council may set the budget without a formal vote, nor is there awareness of how to provide public comment. There are many people, my elderly neighbors, for example, who do not go online to read communications on the town website or receive notifications via email. And even if they did, the information is unclear. This info needs to be explicitly spelled out and disseminated quickly. Please include this public comment on the April 7th meeting. And that's the end, CJ.
CJ Thomas, Town Council Chair, and thank you, Paula. And just to address that, we will be notifying in our town newsletter, which will be going out shortly, to alert all citizens of the changes that are being made. So now for the rest of public comment, if you would like to participate over Zoom, please raise your hand virtually or send a message through the chat feature and wait to be called on. When called on, please state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Thank you. Any comments?
Hi, Jay
And I believe
Toolin.
there's a chat.
You have 5 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address.
Okay, Anna.
For some reason, we're not getting.
The conference.
Okay, one more time, Chris? Okay, we are trying to get Jay Toolin on. Please bear with us, technical difficulties. If you can unmute Kat, and let's see if we can just see if she can tell us if she can see what's going on. Kat, you're unmuted. Can you see why we can't have Jay Toolin speak?
Jay was unmuted, but Jay, you're unmuted now. Can you hear us? Oh, he's muted again.
Okay, so let's try to unmute him. Okay. All right, Jay, are you able to talk?
Jay, the one you unmuted is Brian. You unmuted a phone number? Yeah, now Jay's unmuted. Oh. All right, Jay, are you there? Maybe he dialed in. Unmute the phone number that says 470. I think he might have called in.
Did call in.
There we go.
Okay. Let's try it again. Jay Toolin, 39 Timberline Drive. When the Board of Education initially made their presentation on the capital improvement plan, I had noticed and reached out to them about 2 items. One was the automatic door opener at at Union School, and the other was the cafeteria, the cafeteria redesign or improvements, whatever you want to call it, at IAR. I did reach out. I had some questions about that Tim Harris was good enough to explain to me. However, I do want to point out, this isn't really for or against it. I guess this is more of a universal design thing. And I just want to say that I was able to present this in testimony last night at the Board of Ed meeting. They didn't have public comment, but I did submit something in writing to this effect. So I just want to bring it here. It's very important that with this automatic door opener, that consideration. Are you not hearing anything of what I'm saying?
We're hearing you, Jay.
We hear you.
Did you hear everything? Have you heard me up till now? I'm talking about the automatic door opener at Union School.
Yes, we've heard everything, Jay.
Okay. I'm trying not to go on and on, but it's very important for them to keep into consideration where the automatic door opener is placed in order to comply with universal design and fully comply with ADA compliance. So I'm going to leave it at that. As far as the cafeteria, we just to make a note that at some point in time, if there is an RFP or an RFQ, it's going to also be very important to keep in mind universal design. And on behalf of the Human Relations Commission, we don't stand in judgment of everything, but we would like to be involved in that process in any way that we can. Thanks for the opportunity to talk. That's it.
Thank you, Jay. Any other public comment?
Okay, Hi, we have one other chat public comment. You can hear me. One other chat public comment. It is from a Sharon ABRAMCZYK to all the panelists. The high school building project is unthinkable at this time and should be tabled till at least next year. At this point of time, if anyone has a public comment, if they could raise their hand. We don't see any hands being raised. Okay. We have one public comment. This would be for Sharon again. I think you're unmuted.
Hi. I'm just wondering, like in this economic climate and all this uncertainty,
If I could interrupt, if you could say your name and address for the record, please.
It's Sharon Abramchek, and I'm at 2 Talcott Forest Road.
Thank you.
I just, we would have a referendum normally, and if that's canceled, then what happens in lieu of that? Do we have a say about, this big expenditure that is just really difficult at this time?
Sharon, thank you for your comment. The referendum, I'm sorry, CJ Thomas again. The referendum that we are not holding is the budget referendum. This is different from any referendum for the high school, which originally we were talking about having in the fall. At this time, the high school building committee is still meeting, and basically they're going through the process that we've already paid for. But anything else is in the future right now. That referendum is not something we talk about at the moment when we're talking about putting off public referendum. So we would have to have a referendum for a high school.
Thank you, CJ. That answers my question.
Thank you for your question. Any other question?
It looks like there's no other public comments at this time.
Thank you, Kathy. So no other comments on the public hearing. We will now close the public hearing, and we will move on to item E, new items. Seeing no new items, we will move on to, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Peter, there is a new item. Apologies.
Yes. Peter Master Batista. I'd like to add agenda item N11 to set a special town council meeting for the Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m.
Joe Cap, second.
CJ Thomas, I'll ask you for any comments from the council. Hearing none. All in favor, council?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Public comment on any topic is item F. Again, we'd follow the same rules. Raise your hand virtually, and when called on, state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes. So please let us know if you have any public comments at this time.
Make you have his phone number. We're going to call on Jay Toolin, and Jay, hopefully we'll get this correct, that we have 2 numbers for you. So Jay, you're on.
Okay. Jay Toolin, 39 Timberline Drive again. Can you hear me before I go any further? I want to just make sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is, again, on behalf of the Human Relations Commission. I have comments, brief comments, on 3 of the agenda items, and they are N5, N7, N8, which is the ADA policy and grievance procedure, the affirmative action plan, and the Title VI discrimination policy. I did this last year as a interested citizen. I feel compelled to just make some comments based on being the new chair of the Human Relations Commission. I also recognize, because I do remember from last year, that these are basically, if I remember correctly, they're just kind of procedural approvals and, you know, no significant changes in the language. But I do want to just say that when I addressed you, when I was first appointed, we talked about some short-term goals that we have from our September retreat. We also identified some long-term goals, and those long-term goals are some of the things in the duties and responsibilities of the commission that are, I guess, supportive duties to the town, you know, acting as a fair hearing body, receiving and hearing complaints, resolving interpersonal conflicts, and that kind of stuff. The reason why we identified it as a long-term goal is because we recognize that in order for us to lend any support in this process, if these issues come up in town, we would probably need, as a group or whoever is interested in the commission, some specialized training. But I did, again, want to, I'm trying to address the council with as much information that comes out of the Human Relations Commission as I can. I just thought it was worthy of note that we did identify these things as long-term goals, and we as a commission do stand ready to support the town in any way we can with those. And the only other thing is, and I didn't really realize this existed in the affirmative action plan, there actually is language that says that the Human Relations Commission is responsible for monitoring and evaluating that policy. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I know in public comment you're probably not going to address that, but there is specific language that identifies a role for the Human Relations Commission. That's really it. You know, and I appreciate, again, the opportunity to be heard. And it's much easier to talk to you folks from home than it is in front of you. Thank you. I'm done.
Any other comments? Seeing no digital hands raised. This is CJ Thomas again. We will move on to reading of the minutes. Peter.
Peter Mastrobatista, I make a motion to approve the March 10th, 2020 regular town council meeting.
Joe Capodeferro, second.
CJ Thomas, are there any comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And council, you can unmute your mics when you say aye. Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
I make a motion to approve the March 11th, 2020 regular town council meeting budget.
Joe Capodeferro, second.
CJ Thomas, any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
I make a motion to approve the March 12th, 2020 regular town council meeting budget.
Joe Capodeferro, second.
CJ Thomas, any comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
Peter Mastrobatista, I make a motion to approve the March 14th, 2020 regular town council meeting budget.
Joe Capodeferro, second.
CJ Thomas, any comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item H, reading of communications and written appeal. Seeing none, we are moving on to reports of the committees. First committee, Yukon Health Committee. Believe it or not, we have no report from the Health Committee at this time. Next committee, Land Acquisition Committee, Peter Mastrobatista.
Peter Mastrobatista, nothing new to report.
Green Efforts Committee, Chris Fagan.
At this point in time, we were going to have a meeting tonight, but that was canceled. The most notable development with the Green Efforts Committee was the townwide cleanup scheduled for the end of the month has been postponed for the obvious reasons, and we'll look to reschedule that at some point in the future.
Thank you, Chris. CJ Thomas, any questions or comments from the council? Next committee, Farmington High School Building Committee, Chris Fagan.
Yes, we recently met and continue moving forward at this point with the schematic design project, piece of the project. We are working with TKSP in terms of bringing the development or the building into within the scope defined by the town council. This includes addressing various configurations of the building, but also we discussed at the most recent meeting a net zero energy efficient building, which will be further developed at least conceptually as we move forward. We are continuing to work in terms of just engaging with the neighborhood communities because they're a very important constituency with regard to the overall project in terms of communications, and then also continue to move forward with the state. So the project is moving forward as we continue to bring the design of the building schematically within the scope of the goals set by the town council.
Thank you, Chris. CJ Thomas, any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none. We're moving on to item J, reports of the council chair and liaisons. Me being the chair, I shall start. The town manager will address in her report Farmington's response to the COVID-19 crisis, including actions and updates she and her leadership team have taken. Next Friday, April 17th, in recognition and thanks for all the health workers, first responders, and others who are putting their own lives at risk for us, our local houses of worship will be ringing their bells at 7 p.m. Wouldn't it be great if each of us could step outside in front of our homes, ring a bell, whistle, or just clap along to join in our show of support? We'll remind you via Explore Farmington events calendar. Let's spread the word. I'd like to address all of the citizens of Farmington and Unionville and thank each of you. We're clearly in uncharted waters with guidelines and regulations changing consistently, the latest being to wear a mask when outdoors. I've witnessed respectful social distancing on trails, in our parks, and in our stores. We have businesses that are staying open to help you get needed food and medication. We have town employees trying to help keep us safe and retain a bit of normalcy in our lives and in our government. We have teachers working virtually to keep our students on track. We have volunteers working to help those most in need. And we have families living in closer quarters than many of us have done for a long time, if ever. I am proud of how well we've come together, and I'm confident that we continue on. And when this is all behind us, I know we will have become a stronger community. Item 2, Board of Education Liaison.
Yes, this is Chris Fagan. Just in terms of the Board of Education meetings that have transpired since our last town council meeting, the one back on March 23rd, I believe, it was largely addressed to the budget concerns and modifications made to the budget, in addition to discussing the connected learning update and the efforts being taken to continue the provision of educational services to our students and families in Farmington. The Board of Ed also discussed the vision of the graduate, which is an ongoing theoretical guidepost for us in delivering education to our students, and the amendments that are taking that to build upon what we have in place and bring it into the future. We're going to change that to the vision of the global citizen, which includes sort of concepts involving the self-aware individual, empowered learners, disciplined thinkers, engaged collaboration, and civic-minded contributors. And most recent meetings, they continue to talk about just the delivery of the connected learning updates. There are some challenges we're confronting with just the utilization of available resources for families and students, with both parents working at home too and using resources with getting Chromebooks and everything. It's going well. At this point in time, I certainly would like to congratulate and just a special thanks to Kathy Greeter, the superintendent of schools, the entire central office administration, the teachers, custodians, and everybody that's involved in continuing this legacy of excellence we have in education in these challenging times. A special shout out to Matt Ross, our director of technology, who is just going above and beyond and making sure this difficulty we're experiencing in terms of delivering our educational proposition is going on as seamlessly as possible. But it's going very well despite the challenges. They're doing a wonderful job, and the connected learning is doing wonderful. Special education is doing well. So we're if I can say, we're continuing on as if nothing happened. We're doing that, but they're doing a great job. So kudos to the entire central office and everybody in the district.
Thank you, Chris. CJ Thomas here. Any comments? Moving on to item 3, Economic Development Liaison, Ed Gianaris.
Yes, Edward Gianaris. The EDC's Explore Farmington website has been updated to be a COVID-19 response site. The homepage has 3 helpful tabs on it. The event tab will show you any upcoming community events that are live streamed. So this is a good place to go if you're looking to find some fun community activities to help you pass the time. The Supporting Local Businesses tab shows a map of all the essential businesses in Farmington that are still operating. So go ahead and order delivery or buy a gift card to support your local businesses during this challenging time. And the Updates and Resources tab has resources for businesses and the latest community updates as well. The April EDC meeting has been canceled, and the next meeting is scheduled for May 13th at 5:30 p.m. in the town hall. Or most likely virtual, potentially virtual. We'll see what the situation is at that time.
Understood. CJ Thomas here. Any comments?
No comments there. No comments there, CJ. This is Chris Fagan. Can I just add one additional thing that I overlooked?
Yes, go ahead.
With regard to the Board of Education, I just want to comment that we are also using 3D printers in the public schools to make mask frames for the Yukon Health and supporting our healthcare professionals. So I just want to another congratulations to the district for doing that.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that add-in. Item 4, CJ Thomas, Farmington Historic District Commission, Brian Conley.
Thank you, CJ. This is Brian Connolly. There is no report for the Historic District Commission this month, so thank you very much. I hope all are being well and being safe.
Thank you, Brian. Any comments? This is CJ Thomas. Moving on to item 5, Housing Authority, Gary Palumbo. Gary, you with us?
I have nothing to report on right now. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Gary. Moving on to item 6. That'd be Human Relations Commission. Joe Capitafaro.
Joe Capitafaro speaking. Just to reiterate what Jay Tulin was saying, he did speak with the building committee to talk about the accessibility for universal design and also recommended they hire an accessibility consultant. We have no meetings really scheduled at this time, but are planning to do one in the future via virtual. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any comments? This is CJ Thomas. Moving on to item 7, Library Board. Gary Palumbo.
Good evening again. This is Gary Palumbo. With the library being closed this time, they're taking advantage of doing a paver work on the front of the building, which will be completed, I hope, by next week. But that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Any comments for Gary? CJ Thomas here. Hearing none. Item 8, Town Planning and Zoning Liaison. Joe Capitafaro.
Joe Capitafaro, nothing new to report.
Thank you, Joe. CJ Thomas. Item 9, Unionville Historic District Commission. Ed Gianaris.
Edward Gianaris, nothing new to report.
Thank you, Ed. CJ Thomas here. Item 10, Unionville Village Improvement Association Liaison. Edward Gianaris.
Edward Gianaris, nothing new to report.
Thank you, Ed. CJ Thomas here. Item 11, Water Pollution Control Authority. Joe Capitafaro.
Joe Capitafaro, they had their meeting on March 11th where they voted to have a 1% increase for their 2020-2021 year, which I think equals out to $6 per household. Their next meeting is tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. CJ Thomas here. Are there any other liaisons that have anything to report? Hearing none. We will move to item K, the report of the town manager.
Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager. You have the written report. I'll report on a few things. The first thing is the Memorial Day Parade. Right now, the Memorial Day Parade is scheduled for Monday, May 25th, 2020, but we'll keep everyone updated on the status of the parade as the dates get closer. The Green Efforts Subcommittee, I am looking for consensus on the council on one item. In December 2019, the Simple Recycling Program was implemented. This program also had a modest civic contribution attached to it. We have received civic contributions over the last several months. They amount to an average of about $100. While this program has temporarily been suspended during the COVID-19 pandemic, we expect more contributions in the future, and we'd like to have the town council's approval to deposit these funds in the same manner as the direct energy contributions. The Green Efforts Committee was established in 2009. Since that time, there has not been any tax dollars used in any of their efforts. All funding has come from grants, incentives, rebates, and civic contributions. We're looking for a consensus to allocate the Simple Recycling civic contributions to the Green Efforts Committee special accounts. So, CJ, I am just looking for consensus at this time.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask, I'll do a roll call for each of the council members. If you'll just say you're in favor of this, just so we get a consensus. Peter Master-Batista.
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Chris Fagan.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Great. Brian Conley.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian. Ed Gianaris.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you, Ed. Gary Palumbo. Gary there?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay. Did I get everyone?
Joe Capitafaro, yes.
Joe Capitafaro. Thank you, Joe. Okay.
Thank you. The last thing I wanted to report on is the COVID-19 update. I did give the council a long report, but I wanted to just kind of go through some of the topics. So our leadership team now is pretty much working nonstop to make sure that we're responding to both the needs of our residents and businesses as well as our employees. Here is a summary of the town's response to the crisis as well as important updates. First, on the communications to employees and to the public has been one of my main focuses. We've kept the Town of Farmington webpage up to date with all the most current and relevant information. And for the most current information, please see www.farmington-ct.org. We've also used our social media outlets to communicate, such as Explore Farmington. CJ Thomas and I have been writing a weekly letter to the residents, and we've also been doing videos that we've been showing. It's difficult because the times of it changes quite a bit, but we are trying to keep up to date and trying to get the information out. Second, the state of emergency. On March 16th, I declared a state of emergency for the town of Farmington, and the Emergency Operations Center was partially opened. This declaration will allow the town to seek reimbursement for costs associated with the COVID-19, which has been identified as a federal emergency. We have had some operational modifications. All departments have split shifts. We've split staffing into shifts. Shifts will generally work 1 week in the office and 1 week at home. Public safety personnel will have their own schedules when employees are not in the office and when they will be working from home. All non-mandated public meetings have been canceled. Required meetings will be held virtually. We have changed up our public safety operational modifications. We've put a plan in place to manage the police and fire operations. The town has taken and will continue to take steps to try to limit public safety employee exposure. We've made numerous operational changes in both the police and fire department. The town goals are to keep employees safe and healthy, manage the potential spread of the disease within our organization, and continue to provide essential services to our community. Town hall operations. As of March 23rd, the town hall is open to staff, but town facilities, with the exceptions of parks and trails, will not be open to the public. Most town business can be conducted online via email, over the phone, or through U.S. mail. There are very few exceptions, and for those exceptions, mainly in the town clerk's office, we're requiring the business or resident to call or email the department in advance for the appointment. I will say that since we have been working on shifts and the town hall has been closed, it has seemed to be working out well. The operation is functioning. We are relatively busy. People are calling, asking for questions, and we're giving out information. So I think that is working out pretty well. On March 20th, we did send out a reverse 911 call in which Chairman Thomas provided a message to all town residents that summarized the town's response. The town only uses a reverse 911 message in extreme and emergency situations, so we just did one of those. We are doing the Everbridge on a weekly basis, but this was a reverse 911 where all residents received the message. The primary reschedule. So I'm sure everyone has heard that the Governor and Secretary of State has postponed the April 28th primary to June 2nd, 2020, and this will give us more time to prepare for any changes. There is going to be some different items that come up with the elections that the town staff and the town clerk will be dealing with, but more information to come with that. The budget process update, CJ mentioned that at the beginning, and I mentioned it, is that the Governor Lamont has issued several significant executive orders that affect the town of Farmington, and one of them is that there is not allowed to be an annual town meeting or a referendum. So I have listed our anticipated action, but again, this could be modified. Today, we're having our public hearing, which we had. On April 27th, the town meeting is going to be canceled. On May 7th was the first budget referendum, and that is canceled per the executive order. And on May 12th, we are looking to set, the town council will adopt a budget and also set the tax rate. We, as CJ Thomas has stated, that there's more to come, and we do have 2 additional meetings that if we need to make modifications to the budget, we can do so. Financial update, as a result of the situation and the economy over the last couple of weeks. We have been spending quite a lot of time, the finance director, looking at our financial position. On the expenditure side of the budget, it is estimated that the town could spend an additional $300,000 between now and June 30th to deal with the COVID-19. These expenditures would be for a wide variety of expenditures, including medical supplies, cleaning, and overtime. Because the town budget was in a favorable position at the time, we should be able to absorb those expenses. In addition, because of the actions being taken on the federal level to address the situation, the town should be eligible for partial reimbursements from FEMA for all expenses incurred to address the pandemic. Therefore, we've put place recording keeping measures to capture these expenses. We have also looked at the revenue side, and a forecast is being developed. On January 31st, 2020, the projections was the actual revenues would exceed budgeted amounts by $600,000. If the current situation continues beyond June 30th, there is a potential that actual revenue could be less budgeted amount by $450,000. Significant loss of revenue would occur in tax collections, building permits, interest earnings, charges for services, and the Westwoods contribution. Because of this, we have implemented some policies. We have made freezes on all capital budget spending as of March 20th. Any contracts in place as of that date will continue, but no new contracts or purchases can be made from the capital budget. All town purchases of equipment from any budget or account is frozen. Departments are prohibited from ordering more than a month's worth of supplies unless the order is for medical supplies or protective safety equipment. And purchases for repairs to buildings and equipment must be approved by either myself or the finance director. I would state that right now the whole financial situation and the cash flow is a top priority, but we are making modifications, and we will continue to do so, and we'll talk further about that as more information becomes available. The local business outreach, as I think Edward had stated, we have Explore Farmington is now the COVID webpage. Rose is doing a great job trying to get information out to the businesses, and everyone should look at Explore Farmington for information there. Our Community and Recreation Department is doing a tremendous job with many, many supportive services. So they're very, very busy over there, from unemployment to helping the food pantry. And they're making over 1,500 phone calls to residents, to at home, the elderly, to the disabled, to offer emotional support and to do check-ins. We've also, just on the community service, just so people are aware, our playgrounds and basketball courts are closed, our tennis courts are closed, our trails and parks are open right now, but we do have our extra bicycle patrols and extra police patrols in the rails to trails and at the parks to try to educate people about social distancing. And in conclusion, this is a very, very fluid situation. I'm doing my best to keep the council and the residents up to speed on what's going on. On that, I would say that right now our top priorities that we're looking at for the next couple of weeks is that to continue to keep the safety of our employees, our first responders. We again are continuing to implement more procedures, but that's very crucial, and we've been in constant contact with the health department. The other aspect is our financial aspects and keeping our cash flow and making sure that we're able to operate. And third is the social distancing with our parks and trails and making sure people are doing what they should, because we would like to keep our parks and trails open, but we will not be able to do that if the social distancing rules are not followed. So that's kind of a summary. All our information is on the web page, and I will open it up now for anyone that has any questions.
Thank you. I'm going to this is CJ Thomas. I'm actually going to do a roll call and go down the list and see if anyone has questions or comments. Gary Palumbo?
No questions at this time. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Gary, I didn't hear you. Were you there?
Yes, no questions at this time.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Chris Fagan?
I have no questions at this time, CJ, other than just to thank Kathy, again, Kathy Greeter, all municipal employees for their stepping up in these challenging times and the flexibility they're showing in keeping our town delivering on its promises to its residents in terms of, you know, the services and education, et cetera. And just want to thank everybody and wish everybody well.
Thank you, Chris. Brian Conley.
I just want to, Kathy, I want to thank you and the rest of the team working at the town for the way you've really taken the lead, not just in Farmington, but I think in the surrounding towns, because I've talked with other towns about what they're doing for a plan, and they do not have the strategies put in place to really take care of the town folk, the employees, and to keep services running the way you have. So I really want to commend you and the rest of the team on the way you've approached this for the safety of the entire community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Joe Capitafaro.
Joe Capitafaro, I just want to say thank you to both the town manager and the superintendent for all their hard work, the teachers, the first responders, and their front line, everything. And please remember to keep your social distancing.
Thank you, Joe. Peter Mastrobatista.
Yeah, I'll echo all of my council members. Thanks for everything that you guys are doing on the town side. You're doing a wonderful job. And be safe, more importantly, all of you. One question I do have, Kathy, is are we well stocked for our PPE, personal protective equipment, for all of our first responders and town staff and everything? Do we have a good inventory of product, or are we finding it difficult to get? But if you could update us on how we stand on that type of equipment.
Thanks, Peter. That's a great question. Oh, Kathy Blonsky, Town Manager. That's a great question. In the short term, our first responders and everyone we are stocked, but as you probably know, it is a state issue. But we have secured a site that we can buy quite a bit of protective gear, and we're planning on doing that. And we're going to buy a considerable amount so that we have it on stock. And if some of our businesses and some people need it, we'll have that available. So we are doing some donations and things like that. But we made a decision today. We did find a place, I guess it's reputable company that we can buy a considerable amount of protective gear, and that will have that on stock.
That's great. I'll follow up by our local nursing homes and facilities. Have they reached out to us at all, or are they in good shape? Do we need to help them at all, or are they surviving on their own right at this point?
Some have reached out to us, and we are helping them out. Again, statewide, it is really a pretty significant issue, and that's why we set up a one-person, a point of contact in the police department that's collecting donations to help some of these nursing homes and things of that nature. We're hoping in some weeks that the supply will be better, but in the meantime, between our donations and the town buying a large supply, we're hopeful that will be able to ride to help these people, help these nursing homes out.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, and thanks again.
Thank you, Peter. Edward Gianaris.
Yes, Edward Gianaris. Just a few comments. I know this is a difficult time for everyone. Kathy and the staff here at Town Hall are working hard to comply with all the changes and keep everyone safe. It's tough staying home with parents trying to keep learning on track with their children and entertaining their kids. The teachers and administrators are working hard to keep that going. And let's remember that our friends and neighbors that may be alone, especially seniors or anyone who's living alone, a phone call can brighten their day, showing them that they are remembered. Let's also remember our local businesses. A gift certificate or takeout certainly helps. It doesn't solve all their problems, but it shows them that we're in their corner. Thanks.
Thank you, Edward. CJ Thomas again. I would like to reiterate, I think all of us on the council know what a tremendous job the town manager, the superintendent, the leadership, and the entire staff throughout the town has been doing under very unusual circumstances. The leadership and the capability of adapting have been nothing short of incredible. And I think we all appreciate that. And also to Ed's comment, I think it's great that we're doing such a good job of supporting our community and those throughout the community and the businesses as well. So thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion to accept the manager's report.
Peter Master Batista, I make a motion to accept the town manager's report.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
CJ Thomas, any further comments? Hearing none, if you'll all unmute your microphones, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. We will now move on to agenda item L, appointments. And at this point, we have no appointments for this week. We'll move to item M, old business, no old business. We will move now to item N, new business. Peter.
Peter Master Batista, I make a motion, agenda item N1, to approve the following resolution pertaining to a modified calendar for the fiscal year 2020-2021, Town of Farmington budget authorized by Executive Orders 2020-7B, 7C, and 7I.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Thank you. I'll now go to Kathy Blonsky for some further information.
Thank you. This is what we were discussing earlier, and you see the resolution is that what you're doing is that the governor has asked or has said that we have to create a resolution that basically says that you all will be approving the budget and canceling the annual town meeting. And then you have the modified schedule, which again was mentioned earlier, is that there would be, we cancel the town first budget referendum on May 7th. I'm sorry, we'd also cancel the town meeting on April 27th. And the thought would be is that we would approve the budget and set the mill rate at the May 12th, 2020 meeting. We do still have the April 28th meeting remains on the books. And I think we do have 30 days, there's 30 days extensions in there too. So we do have some more time if we need it, but this at least gives us a pathway.
Thank you, Kathy. I will now open it up for any comments from the council. Anyone have any questions or comments on this? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item. I'm sorry, there is no action to be taken on N2. We will now go on to N3.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N3, the motion that the firm of PKF O'Connor Davies, LLP of Wethersfield, Connecticut, be appointed as the town's independent, excuse me, auditor for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020.
Joe
Thank you, Peter.
Capitafaro.
I'll go to Kathy Blonsky for further comments.
Per general statute, the town council each year must appoint an independent accounting firm to audit the town's financial records. In 2019, the town council audit subcommittee undertook a request for proposals, and they had picked PKF O'Connor's, and it was for a 4-year term but every year, based on the rules, you have to reappoint them. So this is just the reappointment. It would be year two of a 5-year period, not a 4-year period. I apologize.
Thank you, Kathy. Do I have any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, item 4.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N4, I make a motion to authorize the town manager to file and execute an application for state financial assistance with the state of Connecticut Department of Housing for an affordable housing planning grant to provide additional information to execute any other documents as may be required, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut if such agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decisions, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Farmington.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
According to the state of Connecticut Department of Housing, we as a town we have to prepare a 5-year affordable housing plan, but they have offered grants for that, and so we are applying for the grant to help us to see if for financial assistance to help us with the planning for a 5-year affordable housing plan. So this is to authorize me to sign all the agreements to try to get the grant.
Thank you, Kathy. Any further questions or comments? This is CJ Thomas. Okay, having the motion has been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 5.
Agenda item N5, Peter Master Batista, sorry. I make a motion to approve the following Americans with Disability Act policy and grievance procedure.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Thank you. On to Kathy Blonsky.
April is Fair Housing Month, and this is the month that we update all our policies. The next N5, I think, in the next 5 or 6 policies are coming up. There's no change in any of these policies, but we're approving, this one is the Americans with Disabilities Act, our ADA policy. We do this once a year. So this would be the same thing for the next items that we have, and like I said, there are no changes to any of our policies.
Thank you, Kathy. Any further comments or questions? The motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 6.
Agenda item N6, Peter Master Batista, to adopt the following fair housing resolution for the town of Farmington and to authorize the town manager to sign and distribute said resolution.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Okay, I think Ms. Blonsky just explained that to us. Do we have any further questions? Hearing none, the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
Agenda item N7, Peter Master Batista, to adopt the attached affirmative action plan for the town of Farmington.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Do we have any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N8, to adopt the following compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, statement for the town of Farmington, and to authorize the town manager to sign and distribute said resolution.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
CJ Thomas, any further comments from the council? Motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N9, to adopt the following fair housing policy statement for the town of Farmington and to authorize the town manager to sign and distribute said resolution.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
CJ Thomas, any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, the motion has been passed and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Next.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N10, to approve the following property tax refunds as listed below.
Joe Capitafaro, second.
Thank you. Kathy, would you like to comment? No comment. Okay, these are our standard tax refunds. Any questions? Hearing none, the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, can you hear them?
Yep.
Hello?
Yeah.
You're there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, sorry. Opposed? My technical difficulties, my apology. The motion passes unanimously. On to the next item.
Peter Master Batista, agenda item N11, to set a special town council meeting for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of approving either a tax deferment or low interest rate program or both pursuant to the governor's executive order number 7S, section 6.
Joe Carroll, second.
Okay, for this one, I will go to Kathy Blonsky for explanation.
On April 2nd, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order 7S. This section deals with property tax relief for taxpayers adversely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. This order requires municipalities to either defer the due date for property taxes, sewer, and waste charges by 90 days for taxpayers negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, or to lower the interest rate due on delinquent taxes, sewer, waste charges from 18% to 3% from the due date of the tax for a period of 90 days. Municipalities must offer at least one of these options to taxpayers, but can offer both. The town council must decide which program or both the town will offer and notify the state of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management by April 25th with their decision. The staff is reviewing the executive order and the two programs to determine which option is best suited for the town of Farmington and our taxpayers. Since we are still gathering information on each program and how the programs will impact the town, I'm not ready to give you my recommendation at this time. We anticipate by the end of the week of April 13th, we should be able to make a recommendation, so we're requesting a special meeting on April 21st, 2020 for the town council to vote on an option. It should be noted this meeting will take place online and a Zoom link will be included on the agenda when it's released. This executive order came out very quickly. There wasn't a lot of guidelines to it. There is, I think it came out today, some additional guidelines on how this will work. This is somewhat significant. I think that the order is a good order. It's difficult because of 90 days. It is going to impact our cash flow, and so we're going to need to figure out what our cash flow is and how we're going to be able to function if we defer the taxes. And then there's the interest rate situation. So Joe Swetke, our finance director, is doing quite a bit of forecasting. We're trying to get more information on who would be eligible, how it would work, how would we implement it. So we need a little bit more time, and that's why we're requesting a meeting on April 21st.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions from the council for Kathy or for anyone else on this motion? Hearing none. The motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. We are now moving on to item O, executive session. Hearing none, before I ask for a move to adjourn, I will leave you with our quote for the evening. This by A.A. Milne. You are braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. To that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make an motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Carroll, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all for your patience.